Thanks very much for inviting us today. This is an esteemed group of people on a Friday afternoon, 6 weeks out from Christmas. I'd like to thank Penny Bowen, who's sitting in the second row with blonde hair, who has put this very short talk together and is the team of one who runs the design excellence competition process at Parramatta City Council. Some of you who know me know that I set up my practice at Parramatta 30-something years ago, and I've been in the first city architect role for about a year now, which is highly demanding but exciting at the same time. And I'd like to also thank the Government Architect's Office for giving us a huge amount of support and actually establishing or helping this role in the first place. There's a lot to talk about, but I'm here to talk about design excellence competitions. And just to give you some statistics, Parramatta is the new London, Parramatta is the new New York. It may not punch above its weight like the City of Sydney with the rentals and the price points of apartments, but it's, I call it the 70% rule. We're getting there, and Parramatta is going to go off the radar in my personal view. Now, since 2008, the design competition process was established, and I actually won one of the first competitions that was built out there in 2008. Since then, we've had something like six competitions that year. We are now in 2016, in the last 11 months, and if you don't count January, 10 months, we've run 11 design competitions already. In 2017, we haven't started yet, but we already have 7 in the pipeline. So in 2016, 11 design competitions. They have resulted in about 154,000 square metres of commercial GFA, 8,000 to 9,000 in what we call PS5, which is the new council facilities building library on Parramatta Square, something like 310,000 square metres of residential, which is roughly 3,500 apartments. This is 1 year. And last statistics, sadly to say, is still 3,500 car spaces. Parramatta hasn't weaned itself off car parking yet. We have a dichotomy of developers, great developers who are coming out and seeing the benefits of car sharing and reduction in car parking, and then the other developers who keep holding on to the notion that everyone has to have their own car space. I will just say one thing there. We have 11 car share spaces in Parramatta as opposed to the City of Sydney's 700. 2100?
21,000 members.
21,000 members. We have an insatiable demand for go-get car shares and other car sharing companies. So I think that's an area that we can improve on. Right now, we've got 50 planning proposals that have been lodged in that last sort of year, roughly. There's a potential for another 23 design competitions, and we are trying to do those once a planning proposal receives a gateway determination rather than the reverse, where we run a design competition, there is no gateway. That causes a great deal of grief to everybody involved. Now, we run it in a new way because we were just getting smashed. It was a tsunami of applications. So to streamline the process, Parramatta Council engaged City Plan, and they produced a competition brief, which I'm happy to say that our grown-ups and leaders have said we can allow the government architect to put that into their toolbox for other councils, and we're happy to share with people that competition brief. Now that gives us a consistency. We don't have the problem with developers saying, well, what are the rules? They're all there. We have test-driven it, and the feedback so far has been really positive. It will be in a document that will have to be improved. There's a whole bunch of people back at Parramatta Council, Mafalmo McNally, Brad Relevin, who contributed a great deal into this document, and we're just trying to improve it. We also have a competition jury template, which I know JBA have been using it, and so that when you do get your design excellence, there's a proper jury report. Both of those documents are actually nominated next week for the Planning Institute of Australia Awards on Friday night, so we're hoping we win. Now, what we do when we have a design competition is we get the proponents to prepare what we call a reference design with an urban design overlay, and it's going to the talking to the point that Jan has been raising about urbanism and trying to understand it's not just buildings that are all just sort of jockeying for space within the city of Parramatta. We ask for an urban design overlay where all the sites next door are master planned, and we can then start looking at the cumulative impacts of what happens when one person wants another 10% or whatever, or more height or bigger footprints or so on. So it's a little bit planning on the run, and as you know, the floor space in Parramatta is consistently changing. But we're hopeful that we'll start bedding down some of those things soon. We are getting good response to doing that work. It is making work for architects, planners and urban designers and landscape architects holistically at the beginning of the process rather than at the end. And we run it a bit like slots at the airport. When you want to put your competition in, we've got certain dates, and so people can go away and do their reference design, then we give them a slot and then they come in with their design competition. So what happens, ensuring that the design excellence is maintained through to completion, and we're trying our best here, and we don't know if this is all going to work, but we're hopeful. The jury, we have really competent jury members, and we've had some great people from the very small office of OGA. There's, you know, the staff of 5. I think we've had everybody who works there on one of our juries. When the scheme is design excellenced, then the developers will put in their development application, and we ask for details. And I know this is a thing that Graham has done in the City of Sydney, so we're sort of copybooking some of that work where we have proper 1 to 20 sections through the facades, we have proper materials. We're trying to stamp the photo montages so that the buildings turn out looking like what they were supposed to at the beginning. And the 2 words architects hate to hear is value management and value, quantity surveyors and so on. And we really don't want to have smoke and mirrors at the design excellence, and then we end up with a building that's been sort of totally dematerialised. Architects don't want that, and neither does the city. We then reconvene the jury at the DA at the construction certificate and at the occupation certificate. Now, we haven't trialled those last 2 steps, but we would think that will work. We have some areas that we've been looking at that on other smaller projects, and that seems to be working. In Parramatta Square, we've just closed out all the design competitions. That's been going since 2012. And we're getting architects that are very high calibre. We've had Architectus, JPW, the Parramatta Square Library and Council building is Manuel Gontran from Paris with Design Inc. and Lacoste Stevenson working on your school. And also Bates Smart, we went out to re-competition for what was known as the Aspire Tower. That's the tall version. It's going to be the 70-storey version, not the 100-storey version. So in terms of positive outcomes, this has been it's a really exciting process. It's demanding, but we believe we're improving the design of buildings in Parramatta. We have a long list of award-winning architects who I won't name, but they're all the usual suspects. And we've also Harry Levine, who's also been at council for a couple of years now. He's been one of the advocates for matching bigger architects with smaller architects, and one of the schemes recently had three buildings, about 1,000 units, and we've got one small tower by small architect and a taller tower by a bigger architect, if you like. So there's that mixing up, which has been quite good. Council has certainty. I think Graham actually mentioned that, because there's continual review by the design competition jury. This totally streamlines the DA process, because if that reference design has been ratified before you have the competition, then when the DA comes in, if it reflects that, that will be that basically hopes that we maintain that quality. And it's supporting that vision that Parramatta is going to be, Australia's next great city, and we just want to get on with it and start building, basically. That's basically it, and I'm happy to answer any questions along with the others.